This is Twit.
This week, Sony announced two new cameras in their Alpha series, the A7 and the A7R. They're essentially the same camera with a very minor difference. But what it is the first mirrorless. Now, I'm going to explain this, Chris, and then I'm going to ask you what you think. But let me just run through this. Most digital SLRs, SLR stands for single lens reflex, and the idea is when you look through the viewfinder, you're actually looking through a mirror out through the lens. So you see exactly what the lens is seeing with an SLR. Then you press the button, the mirror has to pop up, that's that big chunk, take the picture, and then it pops back down again. Mirrors add a lot of bulk to a camera, a lot of complexity to a camera. They slow it down. It's a big deal. It's as you might imagine, a mechanical engineering feat. Well, we've started to see a lot of mirrorless cameras. Instead of having optical views through the lens, they use a little video camera that takes a picture and sends that up to the viewfinder. So it's not quite as high a quality, but you still are seeing what the lens sees, but you're seeing a video of what the lens sees instead of optically what the lens sees. That does make the camera simpler, believe it or not, and it certainly makes it smaller. When we took our vacation, we took the Olympus OMD camera, which is a micro four thirds camera. This is probably the most common mirrorless format. But Sony's been making its own mirrorless cameras, the NEX line, that are very high quality. They have nice big sensors, bigger than micro four thirds, APS-C sensors. So what did Sony announce this week? They announced their Alpha line, which is their top of the line cameras, will now have full frame sensors. That means as big as these, Canon 5Ds and the Nikon D3 and all of that. Full frame sensors. That's what pros want, and still mirrorless design. And people are going crazy. My friend Trey Ratcliffe, who's become a big mirrorless advocate, and he said he's trading everything in for the A7R. Michael Reichman at Luminous Landscape, another very famous landscape photographer, said this is the best camera ever. People are going crazy. Is it really? Is this trouble for Nikon and Canon?
There's some potential for that. There's clearly some potential for that.
This is very interesting.
This is a huge, big thing. This is.
What do you think?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yes,
I hear you, but do you not hear me?
I do hear you, yes.
Oh, okay.
It is. It's finally at a point where we can take these big DSLRs and at least to a certain extent dump them, because that's one of the things that has stopped me go for a mirrorless system is the sensor size. I'm a full format guy. I shoot bigger formats as well. So the size of a micro four thirds sensor was one of the reasons, believe it or not, that kind of helped me back from going that direction. And now with the A7 and the A7R, I mean, we're talking decent pixel amounts, 24 megapixels and 36 megapixels. I'm not sure about sports shooting. With the A7, we're talking 5 frames per second, and some sports shooters might need some more of that.
That's what I think. Somebody's, maybe Michael Reichman or my friend Trey Ratcliffe said, if you're going to shoot sports or birds, you might want to stay with your Nikon. Yeah. But for a lot of other people, the reduced size, and he says, Trey says, it's the coming of computational photography.
Oh, there's a lot of that going on. I mean, especially with the camera with that. I mean, what you're looking at is the lens sitting really close to the sensor now. There's not much space between the lens and the sensor, so the angle of those light beams going into the corners of the sensor, they're pretty much at a very, very shallow angle. And that in turn will be a problem, or is a bit of a problem, because then those light beams get darker in the corners. So you get vignetting, you get these darkening of the corners, and there's a lot of computation going on to kind of counterbalance that and counterbalance the distortion in lens and these kind of things. So there's a lot going on under the hood to make those pictures look really good.
Yeah, and one of the things that excited these high-end photographers is the fact that it can use Leica M series lenses. In many ways, it's like a Leica M camera with a Sony.
I mean, speaking of price, the Leica M9, that's a full-frame camera.
What is that,
without
20
a mirror,
grand?
But we're talking, not quite as much. But, well, with a decent lens, yeah, probably in that range. But with the A7, A7R, we're talking, I think, 700 or up to 2,500
Yeah, I think it's
So
$2,300 in the U.S.
or 2,300, yeah,
For the top of the
2,100
line.
euros. Yes.
Yeah, I immediately, by the way, ordered it. It won't be out till December, but the sooner you order it, the sooner you can get in line for it.
One interesting thing they put in there is you have two different kinds of menus. If you're used to the Next system, you can use a Next-like menu. If you are used to Canon's SLRs, you can use a menu that's like their SLR. So in that sense, it's a bit like the current Windows, which is trying to be everything. But at least you have a choice there. The one thing I'm kind of a bit concerned about, I would love to use that as a street photography camera because it's very inconspicuous.
So small,
yeah, but apparently the shutter is really loud. So I'm not sure what's going on there. So
yeah, I read that too. Big click. It's not exactly
big
stealthy.
Clunk, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to see for that. Maybe they come up with little blimps that you can put them in, and you can't hear them. I don't know.
I think the point really is that mirrorless full frame is what people have been waiting for. It really puts mirrorless on the map for pros. And
I think it does, yes.
Serious amateurs, and you know, if you've ever carried around a Nikon, well, a Canon 5D or worse, a Nikon D3, these things are massive. They're heavy. They're big. They're totally conspicuous, especially with the lens on there. And so that's why we carried the OMD on our vacation. It didn't look like, first of all, you're not a target for getting ripped off. But
it looks like an analog camera, right?
Yeah, it looks like you're some
SLR.
nitwit using an old film camera from 1962. Nobody looks at you. So I'm very excited about this. I think I do miss full frame. That's why the Micro Four Thirds was a little less than satisfying. So I'm excited about this. The camera's not cheap. I agree. That's $2,300 minus a lens. That's just the body.
Yes.
But the images I've seen with this thing are kind of mind-boggling.
But you will be able to adapt a lot of bigger lenses to
Right.
that. So if you have lots of Canon or Nikon lenses, you should be able to get adapters and use those lenses.
That's what they
on
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think this is a revolution?
At least a huge step forward. I mean, it as you said, it puts that full frame thing on the map for professionals, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm almost ready to click that buy button now.
Well, I figured I could click it and back out later, but I wanted to get in line.
It's true.
In fact, I am kind of talking to a lot of people saying, should I get it?